Okay, so for those that have joined us early, I hope you enjoyed a replay of Roland's presentation on beginning your organizational profile. For those that have just joined us, welcome. This is our second session in our 7-minute leadership briefing series on the organizational profile. And my name is Laura Mcneil. I am a 20-year master Sterling examiner. As I mentioned, the series focuses on the importance of the org profile, but more specifically on how understanding the context of each of the components can help you as leaders to build role model organizations. Before we get started, I just want to throw out a couple of general reminders. The work along template that we introduced last week, if you are new to joining us this week, it is available in the chat window. Just a reminder, please, if you want to open your file that you started last week, you can certainly build on it through the session today. The file is also available for download at floridasterling.com in the events tab. This series will run through May 10th. So please make sure to mark your calendars through then. Every Tuesday, we will be hosting a new session. The last session on May 10th will be a pulling it all together session that I'll host, so I hope to see you all there. It is the same Zoom link for every session, the same Zoom link as today's session, so you can carry that forward for all of the sessions between now and then. The presentations will be uploaded to YouTube in about 24 hours from now. And as a reminder, the session is followed by my summary notes and a brief Q&A session. So please, while we're going through the presentation, feel free to submit your questions in the chat window at the bottom of the Zoom screen. So our organizational profile session today is describing your products and service offerings, featuring Gordon Klein, Sterling Master Examiner and board member. Gordon is the CEO of Reflect Excellence, LLC. With that, I'll turn it over to Gordon.
Good morning, Laura. Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. Welcome, everybody. If you were here 15 minutes early and heard Roland's presentation, or if you were here last week and heard Roland's presentation, Roland talked about how important the organization profile is overall to your business, how that organizational profile sets a framework for many, many things that you do, day-to-day operations. And he used an example. They would pull things from the organizational profile for grant writing and for other purposes to give a consistent message everywhere. Today, we're going to take the elements of the org profile, and I'm going to focus on just one element, a key aspect of your business. To focus you on that element, I'm going to tell you a little story. And to make sure that no one gets embarrassed by the story, I'm telling you a story that's almost 40 years old. One of the first things I learned as a professional, back when I was working for a small accounting firm and still working on my degree, was about defining what your business is. I was working for a small accounting firm in downtown Orlando. That firm specialized in the retail petroleum industry, gas stations. As the new guy, as the young guy, I got the mom and pop gas stations, not the one on the interstates. The framework for gas stations back then, in the early 80s, was typically they had a couple of gas pumps, they had a couple of bay garages, they made half their money from gas, half their money from the garage. They typically had a small store that, if they were lucky, broke even. And I got to work with a gentleman that had owned a gas station for a number of years, just right down the street from the office, so I could walk down and visit with him. And I had been doing his books and his taxes and meeting with him at least monthly to go over his financial stability. I got to meet his brother-in-law, who was running the store for him. I got to meet his wife. I got to know the family fairly well. But he came to me one day and he says, "Gordon, I don't understand. I've been in this business for more than 20 years now. I'm the chief mechanic. I have 2 mechanics working for me. And until the last 3 or 4 years, our bays have always been full. There were cars stacked up in the bays. These days, sometimes there's only 1 car in the bay and there's a bay empty. We used to have to stay late every day to make sure we finished the day's work so that we could start the next day's work on time. And I don't know the last time I had to pay overtime for a mechanic to get through the day, but you come to me every month and you tell me I'm still making the same money. And I don't understand. I mean, I'm a mechanic. I'm a premier mechanic downtown. I'm well known for what I do, but my customers are just not coming back. I don't have any more customers. I'm not getting new customers. How am I still making money? And I had to look at him in the face and say, here's your income statement. You made about 25% of your money from gas and about 25% of your money from the mechanic repairs you do. Half of your money is coming from your store. And 90% of that is coming from video rentals. You're not a gas station owner, you're in the video rental business. The mechanic is a sideline for you now. And he was completely shocked. In his mind, he was a premier mechanic and is a good guy carrying his brother-in-law, when in reality, he was closer to someone that owned a video rental company and his brother-in-law was kind of carrying him. The point of that is knowing what you do, defining your products and services, stopping and taking a fresh look every once in a while will help you stay on the track you want to stay on. Stopping every year, going through a process of self-examination to see what goods and services you're producing, what goes out the door, will help you clarify what business you're currently in. It will ground you on what's happening day to day in your organization. So you're not in the weeds in the mechanic shop, you're looking at the big picture. And it also defines how you're going to have to look at other factors, how you're going to segment your customer base. Because a video rental customer may not be the same type of person that is the gas buyer or the mechanical customer. Definitely, the first question, the first thing that you answer as you start doing your profile is, what business am I in? What goods or services do I create? And how do I deliver them? Now, how do you do that? That's an interesting question. I would recommend you start with a SIPOC. If you have another framework that works better for you, that's fine, but you should have a framework how you map out how things flow your business. I do a SIPOC and I look at everything that's leaving my operations and heading towards my customers. Create a high-level SIPOC. Now, if you listed everything that was leaving, every single type of gas sold, leaded, unleaded back in those days, diesel, every single little air filter that came out of the shop, every single part you put on the car, that doesn't make any sense, but group them into high-level areas. So for my example, it was mechanics, gasoline, and video rentals at the high level. Rank them as to the impact on your business. Sometimes one part of what you're producing is more important than you thought it was. And controversial, vice versa, something that you think is what your business is relying on is not what your business is relying on. And then look at your current delivery mechanisms. That's particularly important these days. Since COVID has gotten people working from home, they don't go to stores anymore. I mean, it's been important over the past 20 years as the market evolves, but stop, look at what's going out the door, look at how it's going out the door, and rank those on the impact of your business. And then you'll have a framework for answering other questions like, who are my customers? What is my mission, vision, and values, which is what's going to come up next. Documenting, there's always a question on how you document what you're going to put in your work profile. The example up there is just a couple of ways of documenting the average automobile sales in India, which if you glance at, that's probably not what you would expect from seeing average automobile sales in the country. In India at the time of this, it was by far two-wheelers over anything else. If you just break it out by the high levels, you're always going to still break it out by the sub-levels. So in this example, they have two-wheelers as 77% of the annual sales, but they'll further break it out into mopeds, scooters, motorcycles, etc. Write it not for the Sterling application. Write it for the way you would communicate it to your customers. This is what business I'm in. To that new employee you just hired. You just came on board to my business and this is what we do. To your board of directors to frame what you're going to present to them to ask for more money or ask for a change in process or propose a new product. Write it in the way that makes sense for you, your staff, your board, and that you can frame your advertising from. And then stick it in your profile. Do it in more than one way. Write it in bullet points. Write a paragraph apiece. A table does a great job. Charts do a great job, like the chart on the screen, which does a great job of showing you how much of India's use of vehicles is two-wheelers. Infographics do a great job. I mean, your organizational profile is what you're doing right now. Stop and list what you're doing right now. It's like your balance sheet if you're an accountant. It's where I am right now. That list of products and services helps you define everything else in the rest of your profile series. That list of products and services, what you look at when you look at things like your strategic advantages or disadvantages. The story I told you started in 1984. 1985 is when Blockbuster was formed. If you're in the video rental business, you're looking at different things than if you're in the gasoline business. Your org profile will inform your tactical plan, your day-to-day work, and your strategic plan. And just to close it with a quote, if you don't know where you are, you don't know who you are. Find out who you are and then finish your org profile.
Very insightful, Gordon. Thank you so much. That was well done. So my summary notes: get grounded on what value your business produces for its customers and its stakeholders. Perform self-examination to capture your organizational snapshot today and then determine where the organization should be headed tomorrow. And then I really like the use of the SIPOC. So create a SIPOC, supplier input, process output, customer, and ensure alignment of that organization to the critical components. And then lastly, when creating the organizational profile, identifying products and services for your stakeholder benefit is really key. For instance, new hire, it can be used in new hire orientation, governance, strategic alignment, and more importantly, I guess you can use it for organizational storytelling to continue to ground your workforce in the purpose of the organization. So questions, I do have one here. What or who do you reference during self-examination phases to ensure you have captured all the relevant value-added products and services?
Reference your current employees. Come up with a list of what goes out the door as detailed as you can make it. You are in a business, you are producing a good or a service that's being delivered to someone. Even if it's not something you sell, have your employees list what leaves the door. You may be paying employees a lot more and spending a lot more time than you think you are keeping up with regulatory requirements rather than working on your products or services. You need to stop. Everyone helps make the list. This is what we do. It leaves this business. And then later we'll see what value we get back from that. But know what's going out the door, know where the effort of you and your staff are going. That's the first part. That's the only part.
Great, thank you. What about, you mentioned segmentation, using the org profile for segmentation. Can you describe an in-scope characteristic that might fit in that bucket?
Sure. I mentioned briefly customers when I was talking earlier. Truly, the customer, I'm going to stick with my story. The customer that's coming in to rent a video may be a different age, a different market segment, arrive at your store in a different way than the customer that came in to fill up their tank with gas. Your advertising, your marketing needs to be targeted at customers, and the customers are segmented by what you buy. As far as your staff, you want your staff to represent the customers that you serve. You want that diversity of your staff that matches the diversity of your customer population. Your customer population is to some extent defined by what you sell, what goes out the door. So you use that framework of what we just talked about, products and services, and then later you're going to do customers. Mission, vision, and values is what you're going to hear about next week. All of those short lists of things play off each other and interact with each other. So you'll be segmenting by just about everything in the first part of the org profile as you develop the second part of the org profile. What I did mention earlier was looking at strategic advantages. Strategic advantages in selling gas, different from strategic advantages in repairing a Cadillac, different from a strategic advantage in renting a movie.
Very, very true. Very, very true. And, I wonder how many other organizations have, evolved to the point where they don't even realize they're no longer gas stations and they're in video sales. Yeah. I'm sure it's a scenario that's played itself over and over again, right?
I can tell you in my most recent job, I was in charge of administrative services for a large utility. We had centralized accounting, centralized budget, centralized purchasing. And for my first few years, my thought process was, we're handling the paperwork to pay the vendors and pay the employees, pay the vendors and pay the employees. And that was true. But when we stopped and did the interview of everything that goes out the door, during the first quarter of the year, half of our work went to accounting to close out books. During the next quarter, half of our work went to budget to prepare the next budget. I got a whole new set of customers on top of what is already serving to focus staff efforts on to have a higher quality output. Again, it's not just the paying the customer, in my case, not just paying the vendor and paying the employee. The value of what I sent to the central departments came back. So
Right.
understanding that they were my customers too made a difference in operations and effectiveness and efficiency.
Yeah, that's great. I think the key word there is collaboration too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Gordon. I know that we've had a request to post the summary bullets in chat. They will be posted by the end of the day on the floridasterling.com website, so you can go visit there. We will look to see if we can get them out in chat going forward, but rest assured they'll always be at the end of the day at the floridasterling.com website, along with all the other summary notes. So you'll not only see the summary notes from today's session, but you'll see all the previous summary notes that have been posted. And again, the video will also post to YouTube by tomorrow. Please join us next week, March 1st at 12:15. If you join early, you'll see a replay of Gordon's session. John Keevan will be with us. He is the president of Wellstar Paulding and Cobb Hospitals in Atlanta, Georgia. And his topic that he will cover will be defining your mission, vision, values, culture, and core competencies. And so this is in direct alignment, as Gordon alluded to earlier, with the topic that Gordon covered, defining your products. Now we're going to define your mission and vision and values based upon what we now know about your products and services. Once again, feel free to join us next week at noon for the replay of Gordon's session. And until then, I wish you all a very happy week ahead. Thank you.